Hello, hello. This is Yuri with Moving Sales Professionals. Thank you very much for joining me for yet another episode of our podcast. With me today, I have Managing Director of CrissCross Moving and Storage and the Winning Journey podcast host as well out of UK.
That's
I
right.
got with me Chris Magee. How you doing?
Thank you very much for having me on, Yuri. Yeah, I'm doing great today. Couldn't be better, and I really appreciate the opportunity for coming on and speaking today.
No problem, no problem. We try to keep it across all ponds.
That's it. Yep, connecting the US and the UK.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Chris, how did you get started in the removal industry?
So, what I've done, it was a bit of an accident how I started. A load of years ago, I came back from Australia, and I was working in a job as an administrator in an asbestos lab, which was a bit strange. I was working construction out in Australia and doing like different odd jobs and stuff, but I came back and I ended up working in an office, and I absolutely hated it. And in my spare time, what I would do was I would go to auctions and buy like furniture and then sell it on Gumtree and just sort of buy and Facebook Marketplace as well. And what tended to happen, people started asking me, could I do deliveries of the furniture? So then I had to start borrowing vans to deliver furniture. And then eventually I sort of realized there was money to be made in this game. So I went out and bought a van, started doing furniture deliveries, started doing clearance work. And then all of a sudden we evolved into CrissCross removals and storage. Maybe 2 years later, 2019 time, we started doing a lot of moving, like house moving. And then we rebranded and changed our messaging, changed our marketing to just removals and storage. And we've just kind of taken it step by step from there.
Okay, awesome. It's interesting. I find that of all the companies that I talk to and all the people I talk to, it seems that a lot of people end up in these jobs as an accident. I kind of did too. So, that's interesting that way, that seems to be common trend across the pond all over US, UK. It seems to be the common trend everywhere that we've just happened to fall into this.
Yeah, I mean, unless what I tend to find is a lot of people would end up falling in this industry through like a generational thing, like through family business or whatever else. Anybody that actually starts their own business, they fall into it by accident. I don't ever remember anybody in kindergarten we were from or primary school where we were from saying when I grow up I want to work in the moving industry or removals indry.
Right.
So
no, I don't think anybody
if it
ever
doesn't
says
happen by
that,
accident.
right? Yeah,
So that's kind of how we ended up here.
okay.
It was good money though, even as a side hustle.
So tell me about the podcast, The Winning Journey.
Okay, so the Winning Journey it's actually a rebrand of a podcast that I've launched twice and under different names. It started out as a lockdown project over lockdown number one back in 2020, and then I rebranded it in 2021. But due to the extensive growth of CrissCross Removals, I didn't have time to be recording podcasts, editing them, promoting it. It was just a lot of work to do on my own. So this time around, because I've built a stronger team, I've rebranded it now to the Winning Journey. We've set up a studio, and what we do is we interview entrepreneurs, boxers, MMA fighters, basically anybody who has created any sort of value in the industry or the chosen hobby or the chosen field that they've went into, and talk about their mindset and how they how they've pushed to do great things in whatever they're doing. So talk about their struggles, talk about their mindset, talk about their challenges, talk about their wins, and just talk about their business and their life in general.
Sounds interesting. Maybe I can get on that one day.
Yeah, your name's in the line.
All right, I appreciate that.
We'll get you on over the next few weeks.
Okay, yeah, awesome. And now for a quick message from our sponsors. For a limited time only, we have partnered with an SEO and marketing company with discounted rates for their services. Schedule an appointment via Calendly link below to learn more. Thank you. And now getting back to the podcast. So how do you keep, you're juggling a lot of roles, and you got once again, you got the podcast, you got the removal company. How do you keep on top of operating the business and, crisscrossing it with home lifestyle and everything else?
So one thing I've really developed especially in 2023, is I'm managing my time a lot better. And the way that I do that is by sort of strictly scheduling myself to do certain tasks, certain times throughout the week. And making my health a priority is a big one there. You know, eating the right foods, getting enough sleep, making sure that I'm, you know, hitting the gym and looking after my health first and foremost. It's a non-negotiable. But
I need to start
but
doing
the
that.
yeah, you honestly, you think you're if you think you're operating at a high level, when you start getting on top of your health and your sleep, it takes it to a whole different level. What I find is as well when I've managed my time well and I've scheduled my week out that I know exactly what I'm doing on a day by day basis, it really helps to sort of chip away at little projects that you're working on. So that's kind of how I manage my time. But yeah, it doesn't work like that every day. Some days there is chaos thrown upon you, and you do have to push things back. But you know, if you spend 80 to 90% of your time working on your scheduled tasks and your most important things, then you will start to see progression.
And now for a quick message from our sponsors. If you're a moving business owner, you may have already heard of Moversville, an email marketing service that helps moving companies increase, repeat, and referral business. But have you heard of Moversville Connect? Moversville Connect is an incredible resource for all things moving. They feature an array of vendors and services that cater specifically to the moving industry. You can find companies that provide moving software, moving sales services, marketing services, moving equipment providers, and much, much more. Visit moversville.com to learn more. Now, what is the most important aspect of running a removal business for you?
For me, it's always customer service. We have an ethos in CrissCross Removals. You know, how does this affect the crew? How does this affect the company? And most importantly, how is this going to affect the customer? So whenever I'm making decisions in regarding to any changes we're making, any business changes, anything that's going to change things for the team, and we're going to have to retrain them, we ask those three questions. And when we're focusing on the customer, how is it going to affect the customer, and how is it going to give them more value for money? So I always say focus on the customer, and whenever, especially if there's anybody listening to this who's starting a moving company, if your number one focus at the beginning should be the customer, it shouldn't be on money. And when you focus on getting those reviews in, and you keep that focus on the customer, you will grow a great company. So that's my view on the most important aspect.
Yeah, so I mean, it's the same thing with us here. We talk to a lot of customers, and you got to think long term. It's not it's
Absolutely.
not it's not about that extra, 50 quid or dollars or whatever else that you're making today. It's about what is that saving that customer, not making that extra money today. What can that turn into down the road? Because ultimately it is about renewals. It is about referrals. It is about what you can do yourself to grow your business down the road. You're trying to build a brand. If you're not, you're in the wrong industry. It's all about branding. It's all about being able to build something that people will be able to say, this is a product. This is a company you should go to. This is who you should be using because they are the class.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And the thing about businesses like the moving industry or removals or home services, whatever you want to call it, it could be anything, it could be plumbers, electricians. If you're running, it's a local business, and most of the time, you're servicing an area or a city. And if you're working for companies or individuals, or you're doing high end work in high end moves and high end houses, people will talk. And if one thing I've always looked at is if if there is a little money thing with a customer or whatever, if what I've always found, if I look back through the chain of communication, there was a mistake or a miscommunication somewhere down the line. And that's not to say that people won't try and take you on, they do, but if you that's where you learn your lessons, and that's where you tighten up your sales scripts and those kind of things. But it's really important that if you are in a local business, your reputation is everything, because people talk, and you think your city's big, but it's not really. People will talk about you, and if you have a bad reputation, then it'll spread fast. It'll spread faster than a good one.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's the same thing we see here in US, obviously, where people are that much more likely to put up a bad review when they're upset about something than put up a good review when they're happy. So you
Absolutely, I
need to,
completely agree.
if you just did a great job, capitalize on that immediately. It doesn't matter if you're in UK, Canada, or US, where we operate, obviously. So it doesn't matter where you are. It's the same. That particular there are things that are the same in this industry. And it's if you got a happy customer, get them to put a review for you right there before you leave the job. Because guess what? Tomorrow, day after tomorrow, they're gonna forget about it.
Yeah,
Take
but
advantage.
that's certainly important. And when we're touching on while we're touching on reputation, one thing that I've always found as well is that people don't always leave bad reviews straight away. What they'll do is they'll call your company and they'll give you an opportunity to fix it. And if at that stage their experience is still negative or even more negative, that's when they'll leave a bad review. So you have the yes, of course, mistakes happen and all that, but what your company should be able to deal with mistakes and deal with bad things in the office if they do happen. And I always find that if something happens on a job or whatever, they call the office and you deal with that in a professional and a professional manner, then we've actually turned not bad experiences, but something small might have happened. We've turned them into positive reviews because of how we dealt with it.
Yeah, it's absolutely. It's also it's part of everything, whether it's customer service or it's sales or any of that stuff. You want to whether they choose you or not, whether they do business with you or not, you want to leave them in a good taste in your mouth. There's a fine line about how many times you should be calling the same person. What we find here, obviously, our realm of sales. So what we find often is that there are moving companies or removal companies where um, people don't understand necessarily the sales process. And that puts us in a difficult situation because there's a fine line between being assertive, being aggressive, and stalking. You
Mhm.
never want to cross into the stalking realm. You always want to stay where when you start hearing that as a salespeople, what we hear on the phone is important. And not just in terms of what they're saying, but how they're saying it. So
Yeah.
if you're starting to hear that air of negativity, if you're starting to hear that uh, a, a little bit of annoyance in the person's voice, that's your hint to lay off. So it's like, because here's the thing, the person may not choose your company, right? But it's how you leave it off. So
Hmm.
they may not choose your company, but if they're like, okay, well, and somebody asked them, let's say their friend that's looking to potentially move in a couple of weeks is asking, well, how did your move go? And the guy there's two things that can happen. He said, oh, well, this wasn't as great as I would have hoped. And there was this one company that were reaching out to me too, and they were really accommodating and they asked a lot of questions. I didn't choose them, but maybe I should have. That's great. You just got yourself a referral, right?
Yeah.
Or the
Yep.
same situation can go the other way, where the guy says, yeah, it didn't work out, but thank God I didn't choose this other company because they were inundating me with calls. They were blowing up my phone. Oh my God, I would never use these people. They're so bad. I already told them not to use, and they still kept on calling me. Guess
There's
what?
a
Right
fine line
there,
indeed.
you're not gonna get a repeat customer from that guy that just used somebody else that might have used you next time in the first
Hmm.
case, right? You're not gonna get this other person that they were talking to, and then the person that they were talking to may not tell some of his other friends that may also be looking about a good thing about you. So not only did you not get a referral, you actually have some negative publicity that are going to be there about you and about how you were handling that one potential customer. So it's like
Absolutely. Yeah.
all of that stuff comes down to it. It's about how you're handling it. It's overdoing it like that. I have a client like that right now. I love him to death. He's great, and I understand. You know, right now, every company that's out there, removal or moving, we're spending, and us too. We're spending a lot more money on advertising than you ever used to.
Hmm.
And reality is, it's not because your people are not doing a good job. It's the reality of the current business market when it comes to moving. You have to spend more on advertising than you ever did before. You have to do things differently. If you don't start making changes, You're going to stay in the past, and you're going to have companies that have been in business less than you that understand the importance of this stuff. They're going to jump ahead of you because you want to stay with your old ways. You need
Well,
to
market,
adjust.
yeah, yeah, I completely agree, and I'm sure a lot of maybe sort of people who are closer to retiring are finding that problem that they don't want to learn the new ways of marketing. Marketing has become a lot more. It's the same thing, but it's become a lot more complex. It's become a lot more creative. There's so many different ways to do things between, what you're creative on TikTok or is different to your creative on Facebook, is different to your creative on Instagram. So I think most people don't understand that marketing isn't anymore just putting up a couple of posts a week or putting up like it was back in the day, putting an ad in the Yellow Pages of the newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how it works anymore. I mean, it's all online, and there's a new generation of people coming through now, and there's a couple of guys in the United Kingdom who are doing it really well. One of my friends, Josh Pask, his marketing's fantastic, and he really understands the how to use the different platforms and what creative works well. And these guys are gaining market share, and it's happening fast. And if if the older people are the older sort of people who are pushing towards retirement or are not interested in gaining market share via social media, then they're going to miss out on a big opportunity in their final years of business.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's one of the things. Like, I that's why I really like Warren Removals. I really like their show because it's something that's creative. It's something that's new, and it's something that not only is it attracting removal men, right? Not only is it attracting industry professionals, whether it's removals or moving. I've turned on a few people on our side of the pond onto Warren's stuff, but I think it's great because it's attracting. Not just removal people, but it's also attracting people just generally that find entertainment value into what he's putting out there. But ultimately, it's getting his name out.
Yeah.
You can't. I mean, you can and you can't buy that kind of publicity because it's something that's out there that people are going to think about it. It's doing something new. One of my clients have been in business for over 22 years. It's a company that's been doing well, and most of their business comes from repeat customers and referrals and stuff like that. But the problem is that because he used to rely on that very heavily, he wasn't really focused on Facebook. He wasn't really focused on some of the social media advertising. And this is exactly what I told him just the other day. I said, if you don't start doing this stuff, you're going to be left behind because not as many you're not getting as many people that are out there, especially in US. The current interest rates and everything else is hitting us pretty hard over here. So
So it's
it's
getting more
affecting.
competitive.
It's been getting good because there's less work out there, and at the same time, there are more companies that are using social media, that are using other platforms to market their stuff versus some of the older companies that their quality is great, their service is great, they got all that stuff perfected, but they're losing the media and marketing and social media battle. They absolutely are. You have newer companies that are passing the old boys by because old boys are not willing to try something new. They're not willing to make changes because they're saying, well, this has worked for us in the past. Past is the past. You got to stay with the times.
Yep, and we've just finished moving our office into a new warehouse recently and getting our storage operation upgraded and up and running, which has taken a lot of my time. So the last couple of months we haven't been doing as much social media marketing as we want, but we're about to take it up another notch, really, really soon. My next hire is definitely going to be somebody to do with marketing, whether it's to help edit videos, because I understand most companies now have a marketing department instead of outsourcing into a marketing agency. A lot of big companies have an actual department for their marketing to shoot videos, to edit videos, to put out 2 or 3 pieces of content.
One day.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it's going. If you're
Yeah.
not thinking about a marketing department in your business, you're missing out on something. But just in regards to the Warrens, like I'm friends with Warren. I've known him for about 3 years now. I've had the pleasure of spending time at his facility in England. Fantastic setup. He's got a great team out there, and his YouTube show is absolutely brilliant. and it's really doing
It is.
something different to the industry. Um, it's something that people haven't not even doing out in America, and it's fantastic.
Yeah,
Fair play
I
to them
actually
for
have suggested to somebody recently to take. Somebody's telling me, "Oh, I'm thinking of doing something." I said, "Check this out. This is like the way that it's done because it's definitely done very well professional. I don't know what he's playing for his videographer, but I'm sure it's an arm and a leg because it looks pro. It definitely looks
it's
pro.
very good. And there's another company in the United Kingdom, and I think Warren mentioned this on your podcast, Asheville, which is a construction company based in London. He has three full-time videographers working in his business alongside him in order to do his weekly YouTube show. So it just goes to show you how important it's becoming, and I know it's important in the US, it's 100% important in the UK as well. And it's certainly something that I'm really taking seriously right now because as the interest rates go up, it is competition's going to go up. There's less people moving, and we really need to be in front of people. And it's we were
Absolutely.
all we were all gifted with the beauty of the pandemic. And I say that because the pandemic obviously caused a big rush in the housing market, which
Oh yeah.
meant that we were getting gifted moves left, right, and center throughout
Same
2020,
same here.
2021.
Same here.
So now we're about to go into a challenging time, and I think you know everybody who thought they were doing well in 2021, even the D players were doing well in 2021, 2022. So it's going to be the A players that come out on top over the next 3 to 5 years, and I'm certainly going to make sure that CrissCross is up there as well.
Yeah, yeah, we definitely, once again, we have to be creative. We have to adjust to the times. Don't lose that battle. You're gonna lose that. You don't want to be on the other end of it. You definitely want to make things
No,
creative. But anyway, it's good. It's good to have you on. It's a pleasure. Where we've obviously touched on a lot of subjects, so lots of great content here. So guys, continue tuning in. Tune in to Chris's podcast. We're gonna have some links available for you here. And as we always say, the world moves on its own. So let the professional move yours for you. Thank you very much for joining Let's Talk Moving podcast and have a wonderful day. We'll talk soon. Thank you,
thank you
Chris.
very much. All the best.